Hi, I'm Hanna.
And I'm Matt Hanna.
And this is Horror Hour with the Hannas.
And today is another day in Zombie Month.
And we are talking about one of my favorite zombie movies, Train to Busan.
Also one of my favorite zombie movies. I think overall a lot of people's favorite zombie movie. Not my favorite of all time, but gotta be a top 5.
So we actually asked our followers on Instagram and Blue Sky what their favorite zombie movie was. And we got a variety of answers, but we did have a lot of people say Train to Busan. Since we're talking about it, I'm just going to read those answers now.
All right.
Brits by Hobnob, that's Brit from the podcast 1001 by 1, said not a movie, but there's a series called Dead Set from 2008 with a very young Riz Ahmed, which follows a zombie outbreak on the set of Big Brother.
I've never heard of that. That's hilarious.
Incredible. Spooky Sips podcast said Train to Busan. None of us are zombie fans, but we love this one. Philip Marinello said, if we're counting it, I'd say 28 Days Later.
And which we've already covered, so if you want to hear us talk about that, go listen to it.
I count it. Veg Out Recipes said Shaun of the Dead.
Good pick.
Our friend Ethan Steinmetz said Train to Busan. I haven't seen a ton of zombie movies, but I'm generally not a huge fan. I don't feel like I've seen enough original takes on the genre. My favorite zombie media, though, is The Last of Us Part 2 game.
Good take that people are going to crucify you for.
Love that for you.
I agree. I mean, the whole Last of Us series really is one of my favorites.
Movie Postmortem Podcast said Train to Busan is their pick as well. And Nennius on Blue Sky said the best is probably Wreck, if people even consider that a zombie film.
Big shout out. Love that movie. And I said that recently.
Yes.
I agree with you. Zombie film. We'll count it.
But my personal favorite is Land of the Dead, to my shame. Which I love.
That's
to my
funny.
shame, in parentheses. I love that for you. So thank you to everyone who shared. We've been posting little prompts for our episodes on Instagram and Blue Sky, so follow along to voice your thoughts. So, Train to Busan. 2016 South Korean horror film.
And we must have watched this for the first time like in 2018. Maybe sooner. We watched this not that far
Pretty
after
early.
it came out. Yeah.
It is directed by Yeon Sang-ho, written by Park Ju-suk, starring Gong Yoo, who you might have recognized from Squid Game, Jung Joo-mi, Kim Soo-an, and Don Lee, who you might recognize from Marvel's Eternals.
That's where I knew him from.
Yeah, that's buff dad, wife guy.
I love the wife guy.
Love him. So, at the time of release, this was actually the 6th highest grossing domestic film of all time in South Korea.
Hell yeah.
And it is now the 14th. Exuma is also up there.
Oh, nice.
Which we really like.
We have a lot of, South Korean movies we like. Parasite, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm going to count his other movie, Snowpiercer. I mean, he's got a lot of movies, but I'll count Snowpiercer. I think that was American made.
But made by a South Korean director,
Yes.
so sure. It made about $83 million US at the time of release, which is pretty impressive.
Pretty damn good for a horror movie.
Yeah. It is the first zombie blockbuster in Korea.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about what classifies it as a blockbuster, but
It is so blockbuster.
Damn, South Korea made one zombie blockbuster and ended up being like the best one. Or one of the best ones.
I know. You go, boys and girls, people, everyone. And so you might have heard as well, they are adapting it for a US version. Womp womp.
Which we've said is hilarious because we don't have high-speed rail here, so it's going to be like the train from Philly to New York.
Speaking of that, one of the co-writers or main writers, Gary Dauberman, is writing the US version, which was previously titled Last Train to New York.
Of course, so it's going to be going to Penn Station.
But we don't know exactly if that's the same name or not. I'm not sure. He said, I grew up in Philly, so there's that corridor. I've taken the train a bunch of times from DC to New York. So, yes, giveaway. That is where it's set.
Oh, it's going to be DC. Okay.
But, it's the same corridor from DC.
They're going to stop in Philly, which is going to be an absolute mess. They're
just going to have a bunch of people rolling up saying John, screaming, that John's scary.
Yeah, I'm sure. No, when they roll up to Philly, everyone's gonna be zombies already, probably.
Yeah, that's why they're gonna say that John's scary. There's gonna be one guy who gets on
with
the
an
train
Eagles jersey trying to
fight everybody to stay alive.
No, I wasn't gonna say that, but
in their Eagles wear.
But I just kind of hate that we keep doing this whole thing of making an American remake of a movie that's already really good. Just seems unnecessary and like a waste of money that could be used on a better project. So
this happens all the time, and I don't know the last time that the U.S. remake was even remotely
I wasn't going
to
say it happens all the time because I don't remember one happening anytime recently. It seems like that trend
Evil
does.
just came out last year.
Oh, but that's older, right? I guess this is older.
That's a movie from last year. The original was 2022, I think.
Oh, really?
It was
I thought there was an older
movie.
Speak No Evil.
No, it's based off a very recent one.
Did not know that. All right.
Yeah, the original is 2022.
Oh, that's dumb as hell.
So yeah, that shit just be happening all the time.
I don't get it. But either way, the idea of them being on the Amtrak is hilarious, but also I don't want this movie. So I'd rather just say go watch Train to Busan.
As people who live in Philadelphia and are versed in New Jersey transit, which is currently on strike, so LOL. And Philly is like always threatening to be on strike, so that's fun too. We get it. We figured this would be the setting, but also LOL. Gary Doberman, by the way, he said the film will feature some direct parallels, but he stressed his main goal was capturing the emotional core that made the original film resonate.
Sure, but it's you're going to just repeat an emotional thing I've already seen.
Well, hopefully they take the story in a slightly new direction. Gary Doberman was also one of the co-writers for Until Dawn, so I don't have that much faith.
Oh, holy shit. All right, just close this production already.
We're fucked.
All right, let's talk about an actual good movie.
Train to Busan. Let's go.
This movie's very good. I think this is the third time I've seen it, and we saw it pretty shortly after it came out. And there was one of those moments where we watched it together for the first time, right?
Yeah.
And both of us were like, "Oh my god, what did we just watch?" We were so excited. It was one of those like lightning in a bottle moments where we both absolutely like loved something that we were watching, and it was like we were very happy to share that with each other. And another one I brought up that we did recently, or not recently, but Mad Max Fury Road, we watched together for the first time, and we were both like, "Oh my god." Are they allowed to make movies like this?
Brain breaking. I feel like literally right pre-pandemic, within the month or two, we saw Knives Out in theaters, and I feel like
that was another one we were like,
moments.
oh shit, like I didn't know they made this kind of stuff anymore.
Yeah, that was crazy. We also watched Birdman together, which
that's true for the first time ever.
I love that movie. And probably Whiplash.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, so we've seen some really cool stuff together where we were just like, both immediately loved it.
Yeah.
So Train to Busan was no exception. This was one that we both really liked. And like I said, I've seen it a couple times.
And we've talked about it on the podcast in passing like many times, I think.
One we tell everyone to go watch if you're really looking for like a foreign film. Or just looking for a good zombie film. Like
this is your move.
Yeah. Very
and
good.
I've heard people like obviously compare it to World War Z because the fast zombie trope. But let me tell you this. If you liked World War Z, you need to watch this movie because it's infinitely better.
Yeah.
Full offense.
My understanding of World War Z is that it's more
Bitch, you haven't
global.
seen it.
I haven't seen it, but I know it's like it seems like it's more global where this is a very internal story about really a father and daughter and then a couple other characters.
Yes.
And like that's what makes this so much better and much more interesting is that it is just it's a family story about these two. And that's the driving force of everything is this like broken, strained relationship. And really it's just set within a zombie world. And I would say that that's a little bit different than a lot of other stuff we've seen. We've talked about 28 Days Later being the whole like the humans are the real bad guy trope. We've talked about like some zombie movies being about, you know, the inevitability of death, where this, I think, kind of breathes a little bit of new life into the genre by being about this strained relationship.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's really cool. That's why we like it.
Yes. The theming in this movie is really well done. I think there are times where maybe it's on the nose, but I don't think that's a problem.
For sure.
I think it makes you feel, and I've definitely cried watching this movie.
And what else can you ask for in a zombie movie? Like
making me cry is like
if it reaches that's like very impressive. I also will say like this movie's fun as hell, so it has that combination.
Yes,
like it's zombies on a train. You know, it's going to be hard to be bad. So when you now also have like a well-crafted movie with zombies on a train and an emotional core to it, like damn, we're in for an all-timer.
Yes,
and it's really that can be that simple.
Before we get too into the nitty-gritty, just one more quick background fact. There is an animated prequel to this because the director previously worked in animation.
Oh, very cool.
And then there is a sequel that came out several years later called Peninsula.
Yeah, I've never seen.
We've never seen either, so we cannot comment on their quality, but we didn't feel enthused about Peninsula, so we didn't watch it. So, movie time. We're a horror podcast, so let's just start. Is this movie scary?
Yeah, I would say it has scary moments, has some very tense moments, and a lot of well-constructed scenes to create those.
This movie is stressful as fuck.
Yeah, I felt a lot of tension, even though I've seen the movie multiple times and I know what happens.
We literally know what happened, and there was a part where I still, like, screamed, but it was like a laugh scream, because I was like, oh my god, this is crazy and exciting.
It is. It's not exactly like scary, but I think it is pretty tension and dread filled, and like you really do care about the characters. So
yeah,
and having seen it, I also know a lot of their fates, so I'm just sad because I learned to like love them, and then I just know how it turns out for them anyway. Mm-hmm. And that is it's tough to like watch that and anticipate that, but I think it makes the movie all the better. So.
Yeah. Like we said, this is our third time watching it, so there was only one scream and 0 hides, but I can promise the first time we watched this, there were screams and hides.
There were some yells from me, not screams, but more of
they were kind of like yells of excitement, like, holy shit, they did that.
Oh my god, I forgot that this happened,
yes.
And I can't believe how this looks.
Yes.
Especially a scene where there was just a horde of zombies basically packing a train, and they almost looked like a wave coming through, and I was just like, yeah, I love this.
The zombie
all the
horde
movements
dynamics
were great. The twitchy movements, everything was good. Good zombie design. For a guy who prefers slow zombies over fast, like this is I think this puts the fast zombie to very good use, and also makes some changes that I like, which I can get to later. Yeah,
the director in an interview I was reading said he was really focused on making a good zombie design because I don't know how this was relevant. He was talking about how in like South Korea, they don't want to see themselves as like too much of a caricature or like a hero. Like they'll watch an American movie, like something in Marvel, and be like, that's great for them. They can wear that superhero costume, but we're not going to do that. We don't, like, it doesn't feel organic or like authentic culturally, I guess. He said something like that in an interview. And so then it was really important for him to make the zombie design feel, again, like more authentic, not too obnoxious, not doing too much. Yeah. But I think the zombie design is so well done.
I mean, just like the veins kind of blue look. It's really looks like an infection. I love the like white eyes. It's like just human enough to still obviously like look like a person, which is scarier, right? I think the whole thing is zombies is it's still you. And that's like what's kind of horrifying is that's what you could become. That's what's coming after you versus, the decrepit bodies. But I like that too. I like all kinds of zombies, I ain't going to complain.
No, I like this design where like these characters that you know and appreciate, you're now seeing them as something else. But like it's still very clearly them and it's sad.
And that's almost the opposite of like the Last of Us design, which is that they completely go away. But the thing that's fun about that is the idea of just a fungus taking over your body to the point of sprouting out of your face. It's absolutely horrifying. And so I like that,
Do we want to do 15-second summaries?
Sure. I can do that. You want me to time it?
Yep.
I got you.
I go first.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Go.
Father, daughter, go on train. Daughter doesn't like dad because dad is not a present father and she wants to go see mom for her birthday, so he's on the train with her, and then a zombie outbreak occurs and then he ends up sacrificing himself for his kid because he learned to be a good dad.
Not bad.
I would have done it faster, but I panicked because I said
what else did I
son.
say? I don't even have anything funny to say about this one. All right. Are you ready?
Talk about the wife guy.
Sure. Oh, I don't know. Just go ahead. Yeah, so zombie outbreaks happens in South Korea. A bunch of people are on a train, which is the coolest place to have a zombie outbreak happen to you. And then most of them die except for 2 and a baby, unborn fetus named, what do they call her? Sleepy. They gave her a name, but and there's a cool wife guy that I love and I aspire to be.
I love him. I really love him. He's my favorite.
Big wife guy.
He's the guy from the Eternals.
Yep.
Yup. He is fucking sick as hell. Also, he was a pro like trainer and I think a wrestler.
Makes sense.
And at one point he was actually Gong Yu, who's our main character. He was actually his personal trainer at one point.
That is hilarious.
At least I saw that somewhere. I don't.
Okay, and now for our full plot description. Here we go. Seok-woo is a cynical workaholic and a divorced father. His estranged daughter Soo-an wants to spend her birthday with her mother in Busan. Seok-woo sees a video of Soo-an attempting to sing Aloha Oi at her singing recital and succumbing to stage fright as a result of his absence. Overcome with guilt, he decides to grant Soo-an's birthday wish. The next day, they board a train en route to Busan. Other passengers include Sang-hwa and his pregnant wife Seong-kyung, and a high school baseball team including player Young-guk and his cheerleader girlfriend Jin-hee. Elderly sisters In-gil and Jong-gil, and a homeless stowaway hiding in the bathroom. Before the train departs, an ill woman runs onto the train unnoticed. She turns into a zombie and attacks a train attendant who also turns. The infection spreads rapidly throughout the train. The group escapes to another car and locks the doors. Internet reports and phone calls make it known that an epidemic is spreading across the country. When the train stops at Dijon station, the survivors find the city is overrun by zombies and hastily retreat to the train, splitting up in different train cars in the ensuing chaos. Seok-woo learns that by phone that his company is indirectly responsible for the outbreak. The military establishes a quarantine zone near Busan, to which the conductor sets a course. Seok-woo, Sang-hwa, and Young-guk, who have all become separated from their loved ones, fight their way to where Soo-an and Seong-kyung are hiding with In-gil and the homeless man. Once regrouped, they struggle through the zombie horde to the front train car, where the rest of the passengers are sheltered. At the prompting of Young-suk and train attendant Ki-chul, the passengers prevent the survivors from entering, fearing that they are infected. Sang-hwa sacrifices himself to give the others time to force open the door and enter the car, but In-gil is killed. Young-suk, Ki-chul, and the passengers demand that the survivors isolate themselves in front of the vestibule. However, Jong-gil, disgusted at the passengers and despairing from the loss of her sister, deliberately opens the other door, and allows the zombies to enter and kill the rest of the car's passengers. Yeon-suk and Ki-chul escape by hiding in the bathroom. A blocked track at the East Daegu station forces the survivors to stop and search for another train. Yeon-suk escapes after pushing Ki-chul into the zombies. A flaming locomotive derails, separating the group and trapping Seok-woo, Soo-an, Seong-kyung, and the homeless man underneath a carriage filled with zombies. Meanwhile, Yeon-suk runs into Jin-hee and Young-guk, pushing the former into a zombie in his attempts to escape. Heartbroken, Young-guk stays with Jin-hee until she turns and kills him. The conductor starts a locomotive on another track, but is also thrown to the zombies while trying to save an injured Young-suk. Seok-woo finds a way out from under the carriage, but the escape route is shortly after blocked by falling debris. The homeless man sacrifices himself to buy time for Seok-woo to clear debris, and he, Soo-an, and Seong-kyung manage to escape onto the new locomotive. After fighting off zombies hanging on the locomotive, they encounter Yeon-suk, who is on the verge of turning into a zombie and is begging for help. Seok-woo manages to throw him off, but is bitten. He puts Soo-an and Seok-kyung inside the engine room, teaches the latter how to operate the train, and says goodbye to the former. In his final moments before he turns, he reminisces the moment of Soo-an's birth before throwing himself off the locomotive. Due to another train blockage, Soo-an and Seong-kyung are forced to stop the train at a tunnel just prior to Busan. The two exit the train and continue following the tracks on foot through the tunnel. Snipers stationed on the other side of the tunnel spot them and prepare to shoot them, believing they're zombies. But they stand down when they hear Soo-an singing Aloha Oi in tribute to her late father. And that's our movie.
So we've already echoed that we really like this movie. We think that this movie has a fucking great zombie design, obviously. We've already, talked about that quite a bit. What else makes this movie so special to us?
Well, I did say the emotional core of our main two characters. There's also like an emotional story between multiple other characters happening and how they all kind of cross over, which I really enjoy, and they all kind of affect each other and change the course of this trip because of that. And I can get into individuals as well. I was also going to say set pieces in particular, like the action scene set pieces in this are just like above and beyond so many movies of the type.
Unreal.
The effects that they went for, even like some CG shots that like are very clearly CG, just like work very well. Like I said, the wave of zombies works. The guys coming out the windows. There's just some really well crafted scenes overall that are tense.
I think this movie has an amazing setup. Like the first scene where we see the deer get hit by a car and then get up.
And that's when the title card drops.
Has like this creaky movement like a zombie. And then the title card drops. And then we also set up how his behavior as a father is impacting her negatively. We see this video of her at her recital and she like looks around and then stops singing and won't continue, which like you can assume is because she realizes he's not there. And like is so impacted by the fact that he is just not a present dad. And obviously we have that set up very well by her being like, I want to spend my birthday with mom, not you, dude.
And that's the whole setup for him taking her, because he sees that video and is like guilt ridden. So he decides and also gets her a Wii that he already got her, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
For her birthday.
That he bought her the same expensive gift before.
They do some really great writing for what this strained relationship and like workaholic dad looks like. And they do it in about 10 minutes.
Yes, it is really well done. And then when they're first on the train, like he's taking calls and stuff, it's not, and then he falls asleep. He's not like chatting with his kid.
Yeah.
He falls asleep and she's just like getting up, roaming the train, and she's like people. Fucking 5. I'm like, girl, no, sit down.
And then they juxtapose him with 2 other characters. One of them being the wife guy, like who is very clearly like a hard. I think they call him like blue collar worker in the plot synopsis, but he is like clearly very dedicated to his family, very about family and like about helping other people, where our main character continues to say like, only worry about yourself, and tries to teach that to his daughter. And so this guy just calls him asshole and jerk a bunch, but then he learns from this guy to be less selfish, and from his daughter who calls him out for it.
Yeah.
And then he's also juxtaposed with our main bad guy, I will call him, which is the businessman that I think is supposed to be there because this is the guy he could turn into, this extremely selfish person that is going to throw everyone else's life away for their own. And at the end of the movie, he throws his life away to throw that dude off the train and then voluntarily tosses himself off the train so that he can keep his daughter safe. And I think those 2 characters that we compare him to are really, really cool. And I think really he learns things from all the characters throughout, which is neat.
I think it's also just like so genius to have this on the train, and that's part of why we said like a US remake just certainly doesn't work the same way. There is like much less of a threat since we don't have the high speed train line. So I think that the train setting is truly incredible. I think the way, like, obviously you'd have to pass through different train cars or isolate yourself from other train cars, I think makes it increases the stakes so much, but also gives them strategic ways to separate from the zombies.
And separate from each other.
And separate from each other. And I think it increases the conflict quite a bit when some of them are split between different trains. So I think that setting is just, like, truly genius.
It's just a tight as hell script, or screenplay, whatever we're going to call it. And you're right, I mean, it is silly to say, but just setting it on a train, it's like, hey, any movie set on a train is usually going to be a banger. It goes all the way back to, well, probably Westerns, but I was also going to say, like, the second James Bond movie. I can't think of what, From Russia with Love. Like,
I was guessing you were going to say a different movie.
What'd you think? Like, what train movie?
I'm afraid that it doesn't. There's whichever Indiana Jones movie has the scene on top of the train.
That's just the beginning of the third movie.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, a bunch of From Russia with Love takes place.
Well, I haven't seen it, so
it's pretty good.
Here we are.
Well, anyway, trains are cool. Everyone knows.
Trains are cool.
So, okay. I'm going to think of other things I really liked. I'd said the set pieces rocked. Oh, camera work throughout this is, like, pretty impeccable, and you don't even think about it because there's way too much other cool stuff happening.
Yeah.
But overall, like, cinematography, very, very good.
There's a couple shots towards the end of the film that, like, took my breath away. The way, like, most of the time I think it's much closer in, right? Because you're in this tighter space in a train. There's not much of the movie that takes place outside, so there will be no need for further away shots. But when we finally have the characters leaving the train and then trying to get on the new train, there are a couple, like, very far away shots that are the way that it's showing the zombies going after them, but also with the train in the, like, background, but the zombie horde in the foreground. It looks so good and so unsettling and so scary.
Shout out to the stunt actors who played zombies in this, too. Like, the runs, and, like, I love that shot. Like,
so
I mean,
good.
You have, like, the horde of them just chasing after as they go towards the other train. And speaking of stunts, I wanted to say another reason the train's really good is it prevents you from getting overwhelmed by the zombies, so they're actually able to fight them. Like, this is the first movie to ask the question, what if we just beat the zombies' ass?
With our fists.
With our fists. And I love that. I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Like, let's have Wife Guy beat the shit out of them. And he's able to because, you know, you have the train corridor to only get attacked from one side.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of Old Boy as well, which I feel like had to be a little bit of an inspiration for that scene.
Yeah, very much.
And so just like them moving through there. And then they do the whole thing where the zombies can't see in the dark, like their vision's really bad.
And so
I really like
too.
adding that. So then you have this whole tension with the tunnel, like just every little set piece that changes the dynamic and changes the rules of the zombies really just works. Like there's nothing to complain about in the rules of the zombies they picked, the setting. Like I have very little bad to say. I have a lot of good to say, and most of it's about the set pieces and the emotional core.
I think they do a really good job with setup for everything. Like we said, we already talked about bits of the movie that are set up really well, how at the beginning, how those points come back later. But I think that also comes to with the zombie rules. A lot of zombie movies, if they don't well establish the rules of the pandemic, then you don't really know what to be scared of. Like, obviously, we had that issue in The Sadness where we were like, does just being in the room with them change you? Do you have to be bitten? Like, spit on? Like, we could not figure out what the fuck because it's, like, inconsistent throughout, I would say. And so it's very, very well established right in the beginning. You get bit, you get turned. You watch people get bit. You get bit in the hand, it takes longer to get to your brain. Yeah. You get bit directly in the head, you change immediately. So I think that as well is just set up so easily.
Yes.
And like, yes, they may learn new rules throughout, like the darkness thing, but then it gets used throughout. Yeah. It doesn't just come up once and then get thrown away.
And as you said, like the rules of a zombie movie are very, very critical. And when you get them all right and you make them easy, then it allows you to tell this more emotional story in here set to that background, because we don't have to sit and think about all that stuff. It's just like, it's kind of, if you're writing a zombie movie, the rules are important.
Yeah.
Stick to your rules.
And we aren't people who are like, yeah, we need rules for everything. I love some ambiguous shit, but I think with zombie and like pandemic movies, it is important.
You have to. Yeah. All right, let's talk about the emotional core of this.
Well, obviously the emotional core comes from the daughter being cute as fuck and her dad like learning to be a more present parent and realizing how important that is to his daughter, but also to him, and like what being a good parent means. And he like, it's, I was saying before, it's not like he just learns it from her. Like, he's seeing this budding relationship between the baseball player and the cheerleader, I'm going to call her. He sees the elderly sisters taking care of each other and one sacrifice herself for the others. He sees, I mean, he works alongside Wife Guy and baseball player to like beat the ass of zombies, hold them off, and like learns. And even his daughter says like, why do you have to be so selfish all the time? And they are constantly calling him a bloodsucker because of his job as well. He's like a fund manager. Mm-hmm. And so it's like each of these little steps compound to his like ultimate arc. Another really unique thing in there is that we find out about halfway through that his actions as a fund manager have indirectly caused the epidemic. Yeah. And like that he pulled money from something that ended up having the leak. So I think he feels like guilt in that as well. So like it's interesting, like he is so nasty that I think it would be hard for him to redeem himself, yet he is very much able to in this movie. Well, I don't think he's that nasty. Like, he isn't set up as irredeemable. That's like the point, is he's set up as like, I think we can tell from the beginning he's not a present father, but I think you can tell he loves his kid.
Oh, 100%.
And that is important, because if we started off and he didn't give a fuck about his kid, then you'd feel no redemption. Like Death of a Unicorn, for example, a movie from this year, Paul Rudd doesn't deserve redemption for a number of fucking reasons. But one of them is like, you can't ever tell he cares that much about his kid. Yep. So like, we don't believe that he deserves redemption when he then does one nice thing for his kid. Which isn't even like a thing.
So, but in this one, I almost say he's like right on the cusp, because there are times where he's like teaching her like, you need to only look out for yourself. And I'm like, bro, I'm going to punch you in the head. But.
Well, I think it's very interesting that we're having a South Korean film where they're very much, there's very much two different narratives here. There's the people who are selfless and like willing to do things to help the others. And then there's this very American individualistic mindset of do what you need to do for yourself.
And I'm kind of curious about that because I know South Korea has actually been compared to American culture a decent amount.
I don't know how their culture differs.
I know a lot of
much.
Asian cultures are typically a little more collective, where the U.S. is radical individuality, and we could definitely benefit from more collectivism. Mm-hmm. But it kind of feels like, if I had to guess, that South Korea has kind of both. Yeah, so there's this split ideology between the radical individuality. Because I guess I know that they have a lot of similar issues that the American culture has when it comes to like wealth inequality and wealth disparity.
If you look it up, which not that I necessarily trust Google searches anymore, Google is indicating it's a collectivist culture, which is like what I was assuming, but that they're showing increased signs of individualism, especially among like younger people, which tracks. Yeah. And like the whole world is kind of shifting a little more into the individualist or far right perspective. So we don't love that, but yeah. So I thought that, like, watching this as an American, I was like, yeah, we need more collectivist culture. Shut up, man that thinks he's an American businessman.
I was going to say that's like another, I guess, theme to this, though, is like we said that South Korea has been known to have similar wealth inequality or worse to the U.S., especially when it comes from like a business-driven economy. As look at a movie like Parasite that very much addresses that.
Bong Joon-ho's body of work.
Or Snowpiercer, yeah. And so maybe that's another theme beyond the whole, like, be a good dad.
Oh, it's 100% a theme. Oh,
yes.
Bro,
Well, I just meant but it's like this idea of they're a society dealing with a rift in collectivism versus individualism. And he, is pushing very much saying, like, we need to move towards this collective society once again, or back to the tradition.
Yep.
Which is also kind of funny because I feel like early America traditionally is a little more collectivist, but our founding principle is like individuality, and so now we're in this ridiculous radical individuality and completely tied ourselves in knots.
It's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, it's obscene. But
we hate it here. We hate U.S. politics.
I'm getting way too. I was gonna say not political, but philosophical. Cool. Okay.
Yeah, so I definitely think that is obviously a big part of the theming, like we were saying, because there are a ton of people who die in this movie because they made an individualist decision. And
there are a lot that died because of other people's individualist decisions.
Yes.
Like a big businessman making a decision that, basically ruins other people's lives or inadvertently has them killed via poverty. Oh my God. Great thematic analysis here.
Yes. There's asshole businessman who literally is like, I don't trust them, so I am going to keep them on that side of the train. Like, we can't allow them in here. They're going to turn.
Yeah.
And convinces everyone to boot them from that section of the train. But then what fucking happens? They end up trying to barricade themselves from those people instead of the actual turn zombies. And most of them fucking die.
Yarp.
Yeah. I just think it's like that theme. I was surprised that you were like, wow, another theme. Because I was like, damn, that's shit on the nose.
I mean, it is and it isn't. For a zombie movie, it's right where it needs to be.
I agree.
For a zombie blockbuster.
I agree. Yeah.
And then, but I think, again, if you tie that theme also into the don't be an asshole dad theme and like love your neighbor, love your children, like help each other.
Yeah, I think
it like works
very
better. And then
together.
Tying them together makes it, I think, a little more layered and fun and nuanced. And like, I'm down for that.
Yeah.
And I mean, it all is so worth it for the end of this movie, which is, where our businessman goes out being an absolute coward, being tossed off the train with our lead.
Well, he refuses to get off the train even though he knows he's fucking infected. He doesn't care about the other lives of the people who are on with him. He's willing to let himself die.
Yep.
Even he knows he is turning, but he doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't even care to try and save those people because he's selfish and he's afraid.
Completely. And that's kind of what it goes down to, is this guy's just afraid always. And maybe that's where you can't make your decisions out of fear. You got to make them out of love, I guess, right? Like,
hell yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry to get that. That's a very Lynch of me to say that. No, I'm serious. That's his whole thing now. It's like, so you make the decisions like that. And so our lead puts himself in danger by tying himself to a chain, allowing himself to get bit, and tossing him off the train, and then basically
to save his daughter
goes
and pregnant new friend.
Pregnant, wife guy's pregnant wife has to stay behind and hold the daughter. She screams as he walks to the end, and they play this wonderful song, and this shot, it's probably the best shot in the movie, is just of his shadow standing at the edge, and then the score swells as the shadow falls off, and he goes right into the train, or right off the train tracks. And,
so devastating.
And you're just like, oh my God, it's going to end this way. And then they tug at your heartstrings even more. I have to explain exactly how this ends with another amazing scene of them finally getting to Busan where they are fixed and everything is okay. Except you think for a second, they kind of do what Peel does in the end of Get Out. Where they're like, okay, they're intruders. We don't know if they're infected. Just shoot them. And you're like, oh my God, all of this. We went all this way just for these characters not to survive. But what does she do? She sings the song that she wanted to sing for her dad. And also the song is like, I'll see you until we meet again. Because it's Aloha, whatever the song is. So and it says, until we meet again, which is obviously about her father. And she's crying and she's with her. And that's how they know not to kill them because they're singing. And then the movie ends and I cry.
I cry.
And it's just, the whole thing is so good. It's so well, that last 5 minutes is such expert filmmaking. Like every part of it, I can't really get into all the minutia of like how the shots are composed, but it creates this fear and dread and elation by the end. And it's awesome. I just highly, highly recommend this movie.
Mm-hmm. No, 1,000%.
So that's going to be my favorite scene. I have a lot of favorite scenes, but him toss himself off the train is just so good.
I really love the scene with the dad guy from the Eternals and trying to like get his pregnant wife to go. And he's like, please, baby, like move to the other train.
Oh my God.
Like I'm trying to protect you and hold this door closed, and I just got bit and I'm gonna turn or whatever. And then he
holds a zombie up,
names their baby. She
I
said
forgot about that.
She wanted him to name the baby and he couldn't come up with a name yet. So he names the baby, and that's what finally gets her to like move, and then he dies.
And well, he's like holding the zombie up to hold the other zombies back, and you can see he's turning, and this actor crushes it. He fights shaking. The turn as he's like holding on to fight turning as long as he can just to hold them back longer. It is every scene, like the action scenes have such emotion to them. They're filmed in a way. I wish I could better explain how they're filmed to like fit the function of this, like what they're trying to do. But like, just believe me when I say the way it's filmed really helps with the emotion of everything. So
you need to take notes on that, buddy.
I can see the scene. I can replay the scene in my head, and I still can't explain it. Maybe it's the actor though, like clearly trying to like fight, and we haven't really seen anyone try to fight off turning like that, and like the willpower fight off turning. And it was really cool. But we haven't really said much about the performances other than
they're all great.
They're all really good, especially
so
the little girl, especially because child actors can be kind of one or the other. The old ladies are funny too.
All of the main four have received nominations from various places. Various places, not like big award bodies or anything, but
it's cool how good this movie did, and like how it is like seen as like, I feel like it has to be seen as like a big deal for South Korea. Like, and here, like zombie movies, there's just so many that happen that it's like, that couldn't happen here. But like maybe if you put the effort in that they did into this movie, like it could happen. Maybe that's like the best way to describe this is its effort. It has effort on all fronts, which I can't say about a lot of horror movies and a lot of zombie movies.
Yeah, I just think the emotional core of this movie is what does it, I think.
100%. And it also helps that they were good in every other aspect as well.
Yeah, the action the set pieces are great, the action looks great, the zombie design looks fucking great and is fucking scary.
Is there sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, is there anything you dislike since we haven't done that? Because I refuse to say anything I dislike about this movie.
I refuse.
And here's the thing. I'm probably not going to give this movie a 10 out of 10.
I'm not either.
But like for what it is just like pretty perfect.
Yeah.
There maybe, I'll say one thing I dislike. I think that there are like some moments that like I feel like drag on a little.
Like what?
I think some of the later train times with them fighting with the other people can kind of like drag, but I also think that slowed down pace is kind of required, so I don't want to actually complain about it.
Yeah, I don't think those scenes drag because I think they're all important. So,
I do agree they're all important. I think after I'm watching it my third time, I was getting kind of excited for the end and was like, all right, I'm ready to like get there.
Yeah, I think that's
we didn't
fair.
even talk about the homeless man too.
Oh,
Homeless man sacrificed himself also, and like
for the women's.
Yeah, to save the girl. But it's looking at this guy. There's a guy with nothing, and he's willing to sacrifice himself or like to protect others, and that's like the whole. Our main character is learning from each of these people as they sacrifice for the greater good.
Because there's this guy who has fucking everything, who is willing to destroy everyone to move forward, but then there's this guy who you think would have that mindset, but he doesn't care. He's just trying to help, and like clearly he has like a will and desire to live, but when it comes down to it, he's willing to do what
and maybe he's
right.
also learned as we've gone. So it's like, it's cool. I do think that is the big thesis, is like, you don't need to sacrifice yourself for other people, but you should learn to care. We shouldn't have to teach you to have empathy and care for other people.
Unfortunately, we do.
Help your neighbors, help your friends, help your family. Like,
yeah, I think this should be a required watch for
everyone. No, I mean it's very simple, but I feel like the message is it's a good kids movie.
Fortunately, I feel like a lot of these messages have kind of been lost in the society we're living with lately.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, and
I would hope it'll be when they do make this American remake that I don't want. I hope that they once again push for a more collective society among the U.S. within their writing.
Because if they don't, I'm going to be kind of PO'd, because I do think it's like a major strength of the film. Yeah,
it's a critical part. Well, what else do we want to talk about with it? Anything?
Any favorite scenes?
I said mine.
Yeah,
I could probably name another.
Mine is wife guy protecting wife and naming his baby.
We could do favorite action set piece.
Yeah,
since this is a blockbuster.
Yes.
Okay, I think mine is when they get off at the first station.
Fuck you.
Oh, are you going to say this too?
When they walk down the stairs and they see like all of the military guys kind of like standing in a group,
like, and shaking,
and you realize something's wrong, and then one of them turns around and like attacks,
and
then it's all the people running up the fucking escalators. That was mine, you little asshole. Say that.
And then they're running, and then wife guy saves the daughter at like the last second in this slow-mo shot.
Yes.
And everyone's just like taking off, trying to get back to the train. People are getting taken out as they come there. It's just like a really scary and good scene. But if you name that, I can try to think of another.
Well, you started saying it, so I'll let you keep that one. I think I really like this scene. Fuck, that really was mine. I think it's really tense when they're going through the car to get to their family members, when
they're just beating the zombies' asses.
Wife guy and dad.
And the baseball player.
Yep. But then they also, when they're all trying to get to a different car, and they have to like crawl through during the nighttime, the tunnel scene.
They're crawling through the baggage carrier.
I think that is really stressful.
So cool.
And I think it's a really genius idea, and like
really
smart way around it that is like actually plausible.
I just thought of something insane that I didn't think about.
What?
This is a zombie movie that I don't think a single gun is fired, because we're in South Korea. And so like every zombie movie in America, guns are a huge part. There's military, there's guns, which can be, interesting in a zombie movie. But when this is like, that's why they had to just beat their asses. And also
normal people they're not going to be
carrying guns. But I think it elevates, it changes things. It's a little more dicey. Maybe that's also why they changed the rules, not changed the rules, but allowed, if you can just keep them from biting you, you can just grab a zombie by the neck and just punch him into submission, I guess.
I love the
But it's just something different. That's a challenge that's posed for a zombie movie in a country that doesn't have what we have here.
Yeah. And I think that makes it way more interesting. I think guns make things in movies considerably less interesting constantly. Obviously.
It depends on the movie. Come on. Sorry, that's a crazy statement. But go ahead. I have to call you out, but go ahead.
No, I think that's one of the things. Also, phones.
I agree with that with phones. Some directors understand how to use phones, though.
Yeah, or like how to work around that issue. Yeah, I think both of those things are so tied to American society and culture. But I think they make a lot of movies less creative. The fact that those things exist.
It's a huge hurdle for writers, cell phones in particular.
That's why I love that Rick Riordan in the fucking Percy Jackson series is like, monsters smell technology, so you can't have a cell phone. And I'm like, okay, sure, but like,
that's funny.
Go off, Rick Riordan. That's go,
very,
boy.
Very funny. I didn't even remember that.
It's so funny. I actually love it so much. I love it dearly. What a genius, man. And it's a kid's book, so like, we don't need to take it seriously. Okay, we've talked about the favorite set pieces,
favorite scenes, what it means
to
us.
We've covered a lot of those bases. Let's talk about how this stacks up against other zombie movies. Obviously, we asked our followers, but let me ask you a this or that.
Okay, go ahead.
Train to Busan or Dawn of the Dead?
Oh, why would you start with that one? That one's going to be I don't know. Okay, let me come back to it. That's going to be the hardest one for me to do.
Okay. Train to Busan or Zombieland?
Train to Busan.
Train to Busan or Wreck?
Train to Busan, even though I love Wreck.
Train to Busan or 28 Days Later?
Train to Busan.
Oh, okay.
I think 28 Days Later is great. I think Train to Busan takes most of the things I like about 28 Days Later and makes them better.
Okay.
Are you going to ask me about Train to Busan or Night of the Living Dead?
I wasn't going to do that.
Well, the answer is Night of the Living Dead.
I'm not a fucking idiot.
The Train to Busan might be my number 2 or 3. Dawn of the Dead, however, I don't like as much as Night of the Living Dead, but I feel like might be a tie with Train to Busan. Maybe Dawn with the edge, though, because I really like the banality of the apocalypse in Dawn of the Dead. And I think it's interesting to have one set a little further into the apocalypse. But that was why it was hard. This is so hard. Dawn of the Dead is just such an important movie.
I know. Train to Busan or The Cabin in the Woods?
Train to Busan. Come on. I love The Cabin in the Woods also, but...
Okay. I'm trying to think of any other good ones. Train to Busan or Paranorman?
I've never seen Paranorman.
Kids movie.
That's funny. You asked Dawn at first, and I was like, this is the only one that I feel like is right. They're very close on the same level. Most of the other zombie movies I think of either very clearly below or above that I can think of. So.
Not a zombie movie, but a South Korean movie, Train to Busan or Exuma?
Train to Busan.
I agree.
That's not even close.
Exuma a lot, but Train to Busan is much, much better to me. Okay.
Train to Busan or The Last of Us Part 1, the video game.
That's fucked up.
That's really hard too. I think The Last of Us Part 1
I watched
game
it,
and Part 2.
I watched it. I didn't play it, so I'm going to say probably Train to Busan, but...
I put Part 1 and Part 2 over Train to Busan. But that's only because I think those games... I really, really like those games and they were important to me.
Obviously. Yeah.
But... I mean, Train to Busan's up there still.
Pet Sematary is listed as a zombie movie.
I don't count that.
Train to Busan or Pet Sematary?
I've never seen.
Oh, it's Train to Busan. Sorry, Pet Sematary. Okay.
Well,
we've certainly done that.
I like that. We did a little this or that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to keep doing some this or that. I think it's kind of fun.
That is fun. Okay. Well.
Do we have anything else we want to say or do?
Just go watch this movie. We were very very loving of this movie and refused anything bad because we just want everyone to watch it. We think it's a good one. I think if you like zombie movies, this is kind of a must see. I
think we were a little scatterbrained talking about it because we're like, I love it so much.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to talk about specific scenes and why I think they work so well.
But then you didn't have the language to do that.
Tried my best. Some of them I did.
You need to channel your inner teacher.
My film. I just do my best to describe the shots. Well, really claustrophobic. It's hard to there are a lot of shots are similar because of the claustrophobia.
I wish I thought more to take notes on the way it was shot. Had I known you were going to try and talk about that and flounder, I would have taken some specific notes about scenes that, why I thought they were composed well. But alas, I didn't. If you want to hear us do that, I certainly did a whole buck ton of that in our horror in non-horror movies episode because I think how something is shot really contributes to the genre vibe. Okay, let's rate this though.
Oh yeah, let's rate it. Okay, it is an 8 out of 10 for me.
9 out of 10 for me.
Wow, we were quick. I love this. I feel like it's still just an 8. I don't know.
Maybe
I'm
an
not gonna justify myself. It's just what I'm giving it.
Earlier, I was gonna give it like an 8.8, but I'm just gonna say a 9.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up for the podcast listeners.
Let's do it on our other bullshit scale. -5 to +5. It's like a 4 for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's +4 for me, even though I gave it. There, see,
the way the scale wavers for you is so stupid. Okay.
That's the whole point of the scale, is it's not supposed to line up directly with the 10 out of 10 system. Okay. Well, for those listening on podcast land, I've been Matt Hanna.
I'm Hannah.
This is Horror with the Hannas. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to Horror Hour with the Hannas. Make sure to listen to future episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever else you can find podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube, where we post episodes and shorts. You can follow us at Horror Hour with the Hannas on TikTok and Instagram, as well as at Horror Hour on Blue Sky for more content. If you like the podcast, please follow and leave a review on your favorite podcasting app. Happy hauntings!